is Open Table. Our guest today is Edith Dekyndt. Her artwork is in the Pavilion of Time and Infinity, and we have two pieces there. Both of them really interesting for the relationship with the time, the repetition, the state of things, and the phenomena represented. So I would like to thank Edith to be here today with us, and thank you all. And I would start with quoting you with your sentence. Oops. Okay. I read that you stated that by transforming myself into a sort of automatic machine without its own will or conscience, you allow the material itself to guide your hand, to determine the movements of your pen and therefore the results of the drawing. The material becomes the artist, achieving its own kind of independence and free will. So I would like to ask, how is your artist practice? If you start always with a drawing, or how do you conceive your artwork in general?
I don't really do some projects. I do more process, and I let the materiality to. I try to discover the materiality and what I can do with the materiality. And the way that I work is almost always that I ask me a kind of question. For example, here the carpet of dust. I really wanted to do a fabric with dust, because I work a lot with dust since years. And I did some small carpet of dust because I removed some dust from my drying machine during 25 years. So there is a circle of my family dust since 25 years. But I wanted to do a big one, and I tried different technique, and it was not possible. So I say, okay, I will do a carpet with the dust from the place, and this object will be something not solid or attached. And so I really decided first to have this dust on the floor, and then I tried with different lights, and everything is always in process. I almost never make a project and say, okay, I will now do this project. It's always about chance, the encounter of a material, or the encounter of a situation, of people. So it's always, yes, with change, with the way. That's the reason why I like to travel also, to have different point of view and to be not really at ease in my studio, but to have another way to work.
So, yes, you mentioned that you you already worked with dust in your artwork.
Since a very long time.
Very long time. I was thinking about a discrete piece where it's a bit different, the use of dust, let's say, and even because I think that if you can explain maybe the difference between the the two artworks and the fact, I think that in the artwork that is here, the piece that is here, there's the attendant always working with the artwork itself, while in discrete piece you were just focusing on the phenomena itself without really acting into in the artwork.
Yeah. So discrete piece is a piece that I did like 25 years ago, and it's an installation where a projector of a slide projector makes some projector, an empty projection, a white projection on the wall, and there is a camera perpendicular to the dust, to the beam of dust, and it's filming directly the dust in a wide projection. So it's you see the air that you breathe and the dust which is in the air. And here the idea was more at the beginning. So I wanted to do this carpet of dust, and then I think there is something when you see the history of carpets, the most ancient carpets that we found in archaeology are carpets from Mongolia. So carpets was always a nomadic, is still a nomadic object, not in our culture, but usually it's the first thing that you put on the floor when you arrive somewhere.
Yeah, to settle down.
To settle down. So you have to have a carpet, a roof, and something to eat, a fire, and that's enough. And so when I saw the history of carpets, which come from Mongolia, and was after that in Orient, and then come in the Occidental country, but it was not used at the beginning. Carpet from Orient were used to put on the on wall, and so I think about this nomadic idea, and the people who are always who have to move in our situation in our world, and I say, okay, it will be interesting if this carpet move also, because it's quite. I really like to work with mundane object or ordinary object. So in a way, it's really something that every do in privacy, but it's also something that you see on the street. So there is a relationship between domesticity and the outside urbanity. And so there is a different level in my piece that you can read differently. And here I explain a little bit to you, but I don't. Usually the description is really tautologic. It's really what you see. It's what it is. And everybody can have his own idea about what it is and why is this guy brushing.
Yes, it was the things that we were talking about before, that everybody see different things and can explain inner way.
No, it was quite funny because the guy who makes the brush, they heard the commentary, and it's really, really funny because some people think last week that it was cocaine, for example, and
lots of money,
which is a lot of cocaine. Okay, a very expensive piece,
quite illegal.
And also this week, the guy who was coming back to brush, and a man put his children on the dust. He was sure it was sand, and the boy was totally white, and he put some dust everywhere. And then the guy said, it's dust from here. It's not really clean. And he was so surprised. And yes, there is different conversation, but maybe it's a very rare metal, but it's only dust from the arsenal. And yes, I think it's the first time, I think so, that somebody have to do something in your artwork. But I did it 1 year ago in Wils in Brussels, and it was totally different because there it was really, you really have the feeling of this nomadic idea because there was carpet on the wall, and it was a guardian who did it. So it was quite different. But they did it really well. It was really like, and so I understand you can brush dust in a very elegant way. And that's why we work here with the performer, because they become quite performer. And they really do that in a very nice way. And one of them told me, the one who was the first week, he told me, when I don't think about what I do, if I brush, if I'm not concentrate, the day seems really, really long. Yeah. But when I am concentrate on my task and I do it really perfectly, like a drawing, the day pass, I don't see it. So also the performer have to be in a kind of
mental behavior, maybe.
And so it's quite interesting how this piece change, because it's here and it will change everywhere. I think if I put in a museum or in a gallery, it will be totally different.
Yes, even because I was watching to him before, and it really the lights and the artwork itself changes continuously when he brushes over it, and it seems like a dance. At the same time, like in a discrete piece, the dust was dancing, floating and dancing. Now it's the performer that dance itself, and even it enhanced the physical appearance of the dust by moving the dust and lighting the dust. So it keeps you very attentive on the things that he's doing, even if it's just brushing.
Brushing, yes.
So I kindly ask you to start eating, because I know that if I don't start or you don't start, nobody will start.
Okay.
Your vegetarian is arriving.
I will have bread.
Yeah.
So
I ask for your vegetarian. And about, yes, please, but not this one. About the discrete piece, I was thinking about the slides that you were talking, and the fact that in another artwork called the carousel, you use this.
yes.
Yeah, and I liked very much that it was, because I was very fond of Donald Draper and and Madman. So when I find out that you use his voice when he started the publicity for the Kodak, it was, in my opinion, genial. In the minute that
yes, I didn't remember this one, but it's also a piece with dust. I bought some slide frame years ago in a, oh, thank you so much. I bought some slide frame in their original box, like almost 20 or 25 years ago. And they stay there in my studio for years. And then when I saw this Madman moment, when he talked about carousel and Kodak, and it was really touching. I think it's really the most important thing of the series, because it's the first time that he saw his family, and he looked at his family and his children, and I think he realized that he have a family when he saw the slide of his family.
And I think it was really touching even for the spectator, because then you realize about the carousel and the Kodak and all the meanings of nostalgia. And
so I don't know if some people saw Mad Men here, but
just the two of us.
And then I realized that this box, it was a box which come from Germany. It was several boxes, and it come from Germany. And I then realized, after sewing this Don wrapper, that this slide had my age, because I did some research, and it was really made in the 60s. And so I opened at least the box, because it was still closed. And I think, okay, in my mind, it's a little bit like the Duchamp Air de Paris, because the air which is enclosed in this slide is 50 years old. So I wanted to show this emptiness of air, this non-air. But in fact, with the time, there was something between the slide, the glass of the slide. I don't know what, but there is kind of dust inside. I don't know how it was possible, but dust was inside. So you have the piece is in fact the projection of 80 empty slide. So you see 50 years of emptiness and time. You see and you have also this sentence of Don Draper, who is always looping. So it was really, a kind of really emotive piece with dust.
And why do you choose these two pieces for the Biennale?
sorry. I don't really remember if
That the hammer to the.
how
them.
it happened. I think, but because I'm not so sure, but I think that the first time that I saw Christine Marcel in Berlin, we spent not 10 minutes together, maybe 5 minutes, because she was really, she had a lot of things to do. And I think at this moment she explained her idea of making like a book, different chapter. And I don't know if it's her who say, I see your work taking place in the time and infinity place, or if it's me who say after, I would like to be in this in this
pavilion, chapter.
I don't remember, to be honest, but I think I decided myself.
Let's say.
Let's say.
She's not here, so we can say it.
And so I decided to to do this piece with dust, because it's really about time, and it's a little bit like this gesture is a little bit like a Sisyphus act of always redoing and redoing the same thing. And also dust is something about yes, domestic and mundane, but it's also something really how can I say? For example, in different, it's something that, for example, when you die, what remain of you is dust.
Yeah.
Dust to dust. That's in.
Yeah, it was one of the questions.
Dust to dust, of course, because yes, there is the idea of the dead, but also the idea that even if when we dead, there is always a remaining and you're transforming in something different. And as a Buddhist, you know, they think that they were maybe some water or some vegetal, some animal, and then human, and they only want to be nothing after. So it's a little bit about this idea. So I really wanted to show this piece, and I will eat a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
And the other one, it's a part of a series of pieces called Slow Object. Here is 8 of them, but they are different pieces. For example, the second one that I did, I don't remember the first one. Sometimes it's video objects that I found. But the second one, for example, well, we explain that. I have 2 children, and when they were young, I had a studio, but I was more in my kitchen than in my studio.
I can understand.
And so my kitchen became a kind of studio, because it's a laboratory. You make physical, chemical thing, and I was really, as I am really contemplative, I can have a look at everything. And so we did. There's my husband. We did the bread ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And so when I was downstairs in my studio, I have some time to go to see how the dog was. And then one day, don't ask me why, I take the dog and I put it on a fabric and I stretch it on a canvas, and I put it on the wall, and so the dog become like this, and it was really a perfect curve, and then it fall. But I really like it, this slowly, you know, breath of the bread and the mold and everything, and then it falls. So in this series there is a lot of different pieces regarding time and objects which are slow. And I did the slow object 6. I did it during the Lyon Biennale 5 years ago. And I always work regarding the place. So I did a similar piece, but really smaller in Lyon, because Lyon is a city where they discover the secrets from Orient of the silk. So it's really a city of fabric. And it's also the place where the French people say that they discover photography. So there is a big fight between who discovers photography, but for them it's the Frères Lumière who discover photography. So it was the idea to mix these two industry would take place in Lyon. So I put some fold of silver on a tissue, and it was really exposed to the light because it was in a kind of vitrine. And the idea is because when in classical photography, it's gelatin and silver. So this silver will change with the time.
React.
It will oxide, react, and it will become yellow first, and then gray, and maybe in 50 or 100 years it will become totally black. So I wanted to do that here again because for me Venice is also a city where theater, big curtain are really present, but I wanted to do it in a cheap way because it is a cordery, and the cordery is a place for preparing the boat, and the boat were at the beginning, the veil of the boat were made of linen. So I put this silver surface on linen. So but there is a mistake in the catalog and in the notice because it's right that it's aluminium,
yes, aluminium,
which is totally
yes, in
silver.
the content of the artwork is correct, silver leaf.
The content is correct,
but then the explication it's aluminium foil,
aluminium, which is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense with aluminium, which is a metal will stay clean for years.
Yeah. So it's really, I didn't, of course, thought about it, so that it was so inside the theme even of the corderie, the place, related to the place, the kind of curtain that you use. Does anybody have a question? Apart from, okay. Sorry.
Before asking you a question, I would like to say bravo because the work is wonderful, I think.
Thank you.
I don't tend to say that, but when I came through the Arsenale and saw your work, I was like, wow, there are so many reasons that your work is so powerful. Because we see it first as a thing. We see an object, a thing, and we had to make our own story. You're not saying this is art. You're saying this is a thing, and we had to give it life. And the performance, the aspect of the moving light is so powerful because the performance is almost an obligation for the performer because it's not that the performer is dancing around. The performer has to keep moving the dance to keep up with the light. I think there's a question somewhere there, but I just want to go on and on because we had talked a lot the last few weeks about radical art and how
minimalist art. Minimalist art.
Right, but radical art that really addresses fundamental issues seems to be so difficult to make today because everything becomes an object or part of the spectacle. We are seeing that with the German pavilion that there's a big drive there, but it has become a spectacle. What's the question there? I have several questions about your work. I've seen only men sweeping. Is that intentional to avoid the domesticity aspects of the work, or are you planning to have a woman? And when did you decide to use the moving light? Because I think the moving aspect of the light is so key to the work.
When did I decide it? No, I think it was really important to have a moving object, a nomad object. And the only way was to have this lamp, which is a very sophisticated lamp for rock or pop concert. So this light can do everything you want, but to do a rectangle is quite an issue. But yes, for me it's important that it's man, but as we have to let it work during 7 months, I really decided to have it during 7 months, not only 1 week. So it's a very, very complex logistic, and the guy come by 2 because I have to switch during the day, and I say only guys. And then there was 2, I think, couple, really in love, I think, and I say, okay, the woman, the girl can do it, but she have to wear a cap to be more like somebody who work outside. So I will see. But for me, it's more my idea to have guys. But it's so difficult to arrange all these apartments, trains, plane, for these people, tickets, yes. But if you know that, we didn't do it with this couple, these 2 couples, because now we have 20 people who want to come.
To join.
So, and even the first guys who were here 1 week, and during the opening they were brushing all the time, because they say, we cannot go outside, there is too much people. So they continue, they swept during 1 week, and one of them say, may I come back? I want to come back. And I say, oh my God, it's so boring. I say, no, I really like to do that, and I am really like to be committed in a work like this, and to discover Venice, of course. For the young people, it's an opportunity, so you have to have a... But yes, for me, it has to be a man, because it avoids this domesticity and the image of the woman sweeping.
Microphone. Microphone. Thank you.
Sorry for my English.
You parle, which language do you speak?
No, I try.
Because she can speak Italian.
Capisco, sì.
Allora, noi siamo un programma televisivo
Sì,
italiano
sì.
di divulgazione di arte, no? E stiamo sottolineando l'importanza di questa biennale perché Christine Massel ha detto che l'artista e il pubblico devono dialogare, e questa è una open table dove il pubblico e l'artista devono dialogare.
Posso tradurre però io adesso per quelli che... So they are from the Italian television, a program called Hashtag, if I'm right, and they wanted to underline the relationship between the public and the artist, since Christine Massel, the curator, wants to enhance this relationship between public and artist. Grazie.
Allora, io volevo sapere quanto importante è per l'artista che oggi è a tavola con noi questa relazione, e quanto invece magari l'arte invece, secondo lei, è un cibo per pochi eletti. Cioè, è importante che il pubblico dell'arte sia più ampio, oppure chi può avvicinarsi all'arte in qualche modo ha qualcosa di speciale, no? È il cibo per tutti? Deve esserci una divulgazione ampia, o è qualcosa per eletti?
So is art the food for everybody and can be open to everybody or all the public, or is art just something for a few very cultivated maybe people that can understand art? That's the main question.
I always thought that, sorry, I respond in English, it's okay?
Thank you.
That culture, when you are really cultivated, it makes an obstruction to discover art. Because when you see, for example, children, you go to a museum with a group of children. I did some video, for example, with very simple gesture, and the children directly understand what it is, because they look at the world in a different level, and they saw the bubble here, and people with culture, sorry, especially French people, they try to explain everything, because they're Cartesian people. It's normal, it's their culture. And they try to explain everything and to make some connection with something they knew. And if they are in front of something that they don't know about, they still want to explain it. So I think I think art has to be something that you feel with your body and with your emotion, but it's education and the way we live in a hyper-activity, hyper-temporality, that we don't take the time to look at things enough. But for me, you don't have to go to, to university to have an emotion with art, and to read just, that's the reason why I want the cartel to be something really simple, and not with philosophical thing, even if I like philosophy, but really mundane explanation, really strict explanation, only facts.
And what about the position of the curator in this?
Of
any curator or just a
Critic.
They do their job. So they have this background of history of art, and so they so think that sometime, and a lot of time I didn't see in the work, but I think it really depends. I think Christine Massel, for example, is somebody which is really attentive to phenomenon like light, like time, like and she's quite, I don't like this word in French, but I don't know if it make another sense in English. She's a sensible person. So when I really think, I'm not sure, I talk in her place, but I think she has to feel an emotion when she discovers a piece of art or an artist. And not only to see how this artist did this work or make an exhibition in this museum. For her, I think it doesn't matter. She has to feel an emotion and not...
It has to be didascalic or maybe didactic.
Yeah. Even if she writes book about different things and really interesting book, but she still have this emotion regarding the personality of artists. She is really close to artists, and she's sensible. But it really depends. When years ago, for example, there was no curator. This word didn't exist. So the artists we were our own curator. You know, we have to, when you have an exhibition in a place, you have to paint the place, to decide the light, to do everything. There was no curator. And now there is even study of curatoring. And I really like curators who have a strange background, like people who were, I know curators who were pop singer, I know curators who were artists themselves, and for me, or a curator who was a worker in a factory, and that's for me the most sensible and interesting curator, because they are not with all this background of theory, but it's my point of view.
I think that today, because there is a lot of curators that become like when Piero Mandoni talk about the sign in your Merda d'Artista, no?
Sì.
The work Merda d'Artista is the sign, no? Today, many curator is like a sign, and so a show is the show presented by a sign.
A brand.
A
sometimes.
brand.
Yeah, it's really funny because
This way of talking about art is not a way that favorites the direct artist and audience, because there is another position in the middle that want to become,
famous.
yeah,
It's really a streaming because I will have a lot of enemy as curator. Yes, it's true, and it's
this
quite
way
funny.
people become, because the creator need to confirm his position. You need the curator. You need the curator to understand, and so people can't talk like we are.
But it's the same with the critics, that they are supposed to be necessary to understand an artwork, while, as you said, maybe children understand contemporary art better than we do. I learn more from my children in the corderie than from maybe, just seeing by myself the artworks. So
For me, this Biennale is very important because the project, the idea of Christine Marcel, that is now in open table, the possibility of talking directly, without filter, without any other, that is the way that can do something good for art. This direct talking, I think.
Yes, it's true.
that sometimes in the past open table, some of the artists asked me for the audio recording because they told me there's something that came out from my artwork that I didn't realize yet. So can I have the recording, because I would like to sign it and
Yeah.
yeah. Because you can, I think that talking with yes, in an informal way with the people, it's good for the people, good for the artists, good even for us. Jorge.
Yeah, of all the things you say about let's call her the visitor to your work as opposed to the viewer, because you would like them to be a visitor, that they spend time. I think that's the key, time, because I can see your work in a solo exhibit or in a small group show, people having time, but here there are hundreds and hundreds of artworks, and suddenly your work is passed by because people just want the spectacle, the action. And have you had any thoughts about how to, I mean, you cannot force people to stay, but you cannot have the people sweeping naked either, but any ideas, any thoughts about how you could keep people in the place, because time is so essential to walk around and look at the work.
In fact, when I made the decision to do this two pieces together, I know that I wanted a climate of intimacy with the piece, and so that a lot of people will maybe pass through without seeing it. And we didn't know who were the other artists. I just know that in front of me there will be sculpture and object, but we didn't know what will be in the different pavilion. But as I come often in Venice for the opening, or even for the Biennale, I saw that there is always something about, for example, each pavilion tried to be the more, entertainment thing or the more spectacular thing. So I wanted to do something really quiet, really discreet, really minimal, like a kind of stop for another temporality. And I was really, really lucky when I saw that before it was all this explosion, which is really nice in the corridor with this former work of the 70s with communitary and the ecological thing, and then the explosion of color in the end, and then you pass through the door, and there is a quiet piece also in black with music, and then you have this piece, my piece, and the piece in front, and everything there is like a stop, and okay, we have to, but you cannot avoid that the people pass really quickly. I saw that at the opening and even after. The only thing that makes them stop is sometimes they want to do a selfie with
with the artwork.
with the artwork.
I'm here.
Yes, to say I was here today, and I send some Instagram. I was here, and that's trendy.
Yeah.
So maybe the work becomes a reflection of life, a large today, where we just have to slow down or stop and see things that otherwise we miss them if we keep chasing the spectacle.
And I'd like to kind of go back to the claim that children understand art better. That's what you said, and I'd like to hear more of your opinion on that, because I don't really understand that so much. Because to me, a lot of contemporary artworks are conceptual, so it also made me wonder if, because concept to me is, although maybe the works try to convey content of pre-linguistic, more of the fundamental issues of life, but because it's conveyed in a conceptual way, it's more intellectual and it's a little bit more difficult or sophisticated. So I find it, maybe it's kind of the general norm that a lot of people find it too intellectual, too difficult, too distant, or too strange sometimes. So the claim that children actually understand it better kind of made me wonder.
Of course, a baby will not understand the conceptual work. But I think even the most conceptual work, yes, if it's about language, for example, there is work with language, of course there is a barrier between children and the language thing. And of course, even if I do things really simple, there is a background of philosophical thing, like, I don't know, it comes from Spinoza, Deleuze, image-temps, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I am aware of all this background, which is there, and which is the way I can do things and say, maybe that this is art. I'm really not sure all the time, because you don't know with my work if it's art sometimes or if it's not. And
sorry, but what makes you distinguish what is art and what is not art?
I don't know. I don't have any answer to this question, even myself. One friend told me years ago, he said, in your work, if you remove 1 or 2%, it's not art anymore. And it's true. If there was, I don't know. But it's really difficult to say, I think this is maybe a piece of art, or this is not. And because for me, there is no difference between life and art. I do think in real life, in life, and I discover things, and I do think with them or not, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But I'm not sure that conceptual art is so difficult to understand. Sometimes yes, but if you explain it to people, if it's only a problem of educational. And of course I say that without education or too much cultural veil, for me culture is sometimes a veil, and it's difficult to be touched by something. But I think you have to be both, to be to try to continue to be, and of course an idea, a conceptual idea, can be beautiful and touching, and that's the better conceptual work for me, because sometimes it's totally immaterial. It's only an idea which is interesting. But I think you can tell a children, this guy had this idea, and what do you think about this idea? And maybe he will say, it's a wonderful idea, even if it's not material. I don't know, if you take the example, really typical and classical example of Kossuth with the chair, if you show that to a children learning how to write and he will understand directly, because a chair is not the image of the chair. It's so simple, but you say it's one of the most famous for me. Not the most famous, but it's like really archetype of the conceptual art. And it's only to say the representation of an object is not the object. It's like ceci n'est pas une pipe of Magritte. Our children will understand that directly, that it's not a pipe. It's a drawing, it's a painting. So I think the good conceptual art have to be also sensible. I really like the artists of the 70s, like Manzoni, Yves Klein, Bastian Hader, because their ideas were beautiful. When Klein decides that all the sky div is on his own work, it's beautiful. When Alighiero e Boetti, I don't know if you see the show here, it's really, really important to go to see, because there is really nice piece. He works like a children, Boetti. It's really intellectual, but also he works like this piece that he did with the bubble of light. So he put a bubble of light on a house, and he say this bubble have to be open every year during 10 seconds to have this idea of infinity. It's beautiful. I think everybody can understand this. It's like the poetic of this thing. But also, of course, there is a political political aspect of work that's more difficult, of course, because how could you explain to everybody what happened? Some people don't care at all about what happened in the world, you know. I don't know if I give you the answer that you wanted.
You're saying that children can understand the poetic element of this work?
No, they can understand. But for example, if you come here with the children and you explain the thing, he will understand that, because in his own country the drawings are really different. And here you see that the woman is always, you know, washing and
ironing,
domestic and sweeping and and if you children coming from another country, you will say, what is this? You know, representation of family. But he will not understand that Kosovo was in war 10 years ago. Of course, even teenager will not understand, because for them it's like, it's totally abstract. I think, I'm not sure.
Yes, I'm sure.
Thank you.
I'm slow. I'm really slow.
Yeah, but you can even eat later when we close.
I would like to stay with the theme of young people. Coming here, I met several art students from the United States, and I think your career is very fascinating, and maybe an art student should look at you, because you work and work and work and work, and the art world at large didn't come to fully appreciate you until maybe 10 years ago, and now you have many, many shows at the same time. And, today in the United States, there are many art students who go and get Masters of Fine Arts, and they have tremendous debt when they leave school. I mean, $100,000, $200,000, and they have to be looking for an exhibit immediately, a big show, the big break. So when you look at your life and your work and working by yourself without the attention, the full attention of the artwork. How did you deal with this need to have affirmation or consolation, as the book you like about consolation, constant consolation? How were you able to keep going and keep working without having that reinforcement from outside?
Because I can't live without doing art. For me, it's my life. I was drawing since I was a children, and some people stopped to do all this stuff and to do chemical thing with vegetable and drawing, and some continue. I continue. It's just, you cannot stop children to draw. You cannot stop me to do stuff. So, and I was teaching also. I teach in an architecture school for 4 years, and in a school of art. So it was correct in a way. And now I work with some galleries, and I do more show, of course. But all my galleries say that it is really an opportunity to become a little bit more active in the world of art at my age. Because I have so much things that I wanted to do or decided to do or do in a small way that now I can do in a huge way. And I have time, I have space, and sometimes it's really dangerous to be famous as a young artist because it's too much, and I don't know how people can manage that. But in my case, I have thousands of things that I didn't do. So I still have to do a lot of things that I want to do. And I have time now to do it, and the opportunity to do it. So for me, it's really nice. But you have the same, not the same thing, but Franz Ralph Walter, for example, he was not new for years. And I really like his work since the beginning, because I saw it when I was in school in Mönchengladbach, I think there was, and I was in love with this work since years. But when you talk about him, I don't know, 10 years ago, nobody knew him. And this guy continued to make his drawing, to make this object, and now he's here. So it's really nice, I think. I think it's quite scary to be
too famous, too young.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because you always have to deal with the expectation of
Yes,
people that
some
gives
are
you
able
so
to
much
deal with
attention.
that. Yeah, it's quite. Without maturity, it's hard to deal with the demand or to say no. I still can't say no. I have to begin to say no, but it's really difficult. I don't know if I...
I would like to ask you something. It's okay, I will do in Italian and she translates.
Yeah,
I
do you
prefer.
prefer?
Just for the something. Parlando dell'artista concettuale nell'arte contemporanea, volevo sapere cosa ne pensava. C'è un abuso da parte degli artisti di lavorare sul concettuale e questo maschera la vera identità se artista e arte. La seconda domanda è: ho la sensazione che ad oggi l'arte contemporanea sia diventata arredamento per ricchi e quindi si ragiona di mercato e di finanza principalmente. Quindi non ha l'artista in grande massa un riscontro politico e sociale della società, ovvero l'artista si autocelebra o pensa al mercato a quanto l'opera può costare. C'è stato un caso, faccio un esempio.
O traduco o mi prendo delle
bene.
note perché non sono una traduttrice simultanea. So the first question was about the conceptual art and if in your opinion there's a sort of abuse of conceptual art that can mask the role of art and artist himself. And the second one was, do you think that nowadays the art is more, the art is more something that leads with finance, markets, and investors, and so it is just pieces that are used as furniture and design pieces or art pieces for the rich people.
This question was about politics and social meanings about
Yes,
arts.
so there's this shift from the politics and meanings of arts and power in politics of arts to this finance.
Seems to me the artist is losing and is missing that kind of message.
So the first was about...
Also was about the conceptual meanings.
Yeah.
Usually artists, it's hiding themselves.
I think you cannot separate conceptual artists, making think artists. It's a war, because also in my work there is a lot of conceptual thing. And conceptual, for me, the idea of concept was present since all the history of art, because before the art was devoted to religion in every continent, and then it was devoted in Occident, it was devoted to the power, the king, or the history. So there is already an idea. If you take Velázquez, for me, is one of the most conceptual artists. When he did his Menin, is the most conceptual art that I know. If you take Vermeer, for example, he was really close to Spinoza, and everything you see in his painting is like, you have this feeling when in front of a painting of Vermeer that this object is moving, because there is molecule, and it's totally in correlation with the Spinoza idea of the world, that God is in everything. And so when you see a Vermeer, you understand that at this moment of the history, God was in every object. So I cannot separate conceptual art and non-conceptual art. I think
also want to say that is like a tendency, So some artists produce thinking that probably that they find this tendency can find an audience that now is for conceptual.
I don't think so. I think I have so many friends which are artists. They do all different kind of things. Some are really a little bit more conceptual, some are less conceptual, but I don't think I cannot speak in the place of other artists or more conceptual artists, but I don't think that you make your art to...
You don't think that there is like a condition in the mind of the artist of today that puts him that way?
I don't think so.
Me too.
No, I think the art...
The gallery and the museum, the gallery and the museum of all the world, is the most important. You find a lot of...
You know, there is so much different kind of artists. There is so much different kind of museum, and so much different kind of gallery that you cannot compare. You cannot compare. If it's the same, I don't know if you talk about sport. There is different way to see sport. You know, you can be a professional, you can be, and of course, if you are a professional, you depend on money. And I think, yes, artists have to live, so we have to to solve our work. But maybe I'm really lucky, but I work with galleries which are really like Meissen. Without them, my work will not exist, because they are really committed to their, and it's not only about money. It's really they want you to succeed and to have time and to be quiet enough to do your work. So there is, and I know there is other galleries which, and it's the same with collector. You have collector, everybody knows that, who only buy art to make speculation, to put the piece in a second-hand market. When the artist is famous. But there is so much collector who are really in love with art and really committed with art. So
yes, maybe it's even the difference between collector and investor.
Yes.
Because there are the collector, many of the collectors to whom I spoke, they say that the first choice is about, I like it.
Yeah.
And then how much it costs, how much it could cost, it will be able to cost in the future. And then the investor, of course, it's like a product.
It's true in a way what you say, that very, very rich, when they have everything, some house, a boat, cars, and women, and they want a piece of art. You know, because it's a plus. It's a more is more. It's not less.
And it's also a way of showing that they are really up to date.
Yeah,
and really.
Yeah, because now it's true that now art is fashionable. You see it in this Instagram. I discover really Instagram here this month. I didn't care for years, but I said to my husband, everybody, did you see Instagram your work? I say, can you open an Instagram thing to see what is this Instagram? And of course, it's fashionable. People are like this in front of. It's just, for me, it's just guiding. It's fascinating. But I don't know. I think if a guy like Trump will have a good art advisor, it will be really nice. Because when you see his building, there is a problem. You know, so
you want to see.
Why not? I prefer to see conceptual art and minimal art in a powerful house of powerful people than, you know, a plane in gold. I'm not sure. So, and there is also a lot of collectors today who have, not everyone, but who have some people who take care of the collection to give a good direction. So they learn from this counselor.
The art advisor.
And it's really art advisor and it's counselor.
Yeah, no, art advisor. Yeah.
And they are really, yes, they have a really good relationship with that, and they decided to do this kind of collection because it's a kind of collection which is more close to them. So there is really good collectors, there is really good gallerists, and people who are really committed to art, and there is, it's really nice that you have different kind of artists, for me. I can really have a feeling for a day after a very, very conceptual thing. I don't know, I love Bastian Adler, so his research of, you know, these ideas, really, really romantic, and the things that it disappear, for me, is one of the most beautiful conceptual art. So.
Sorry.
First of all, thank you for doing this. Second of all, we talked a little bit about time earlier, and I'm really interested in how you're making contemplative work. So you're making things in some way that are an anachronism in a very fast-paced society. I'm curious about how you have carved out that space and that ability to slow down when everything around seems to be speeding up.
I think it's just because I'm a slow person. I am quite slow. And that's the reason why I work all the time, because if I don't work all the time, it will never be finished. But I think it's only my attitude. I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe ask my husband.
My second question is, I am here with a group of students. I wonder if you have any advice for students or for people who are studying art, learning about art, from maybe your early years as an artist, or things that you might say to yourself looking back. If you had advice that you could give your younger self now, what it might be?
I think you have to go really see inside you, and see a lot of history of art and history of everything, and to be curious about what happened in the world. Even if it doesn't appear in your work, I think we have to be committed to what happened in the world. That's really important. And in the meantime, to go to see inside you. And that's not easy all the time.
That's
But
the real challenge.
Yes,
See what is
but paying attention at your dreams. I don't like the word ID, but I have a lot of inspiration in my dream, because I dream so often that I visit an exhibition and I say, oh, it's really nice, but I wanted to do that myself because it's so interesting. And then when I wake up, I say, you did the exhibition because you dreamed of it. So a lot of situation of object come from dreams. So you really have to go to see deep inside you, in your past, in your childhood. I think you see this work, it comes from his childhood and is where he was, but also of the situation of Kosovo. And to have a look at the history of art. It's really, really important, because I think we are really in the time of the here and now, and all the Instagram thing, the next day they are gone, you know, and it's always to see, and this kind of machine is very dangerous for us. Yes, because it doesn't, I think you have to be, for example, I come again with children because I passed 2 weeks with my grandchildren here, and the children need to do nothing, and we are really in a civilization where the children have always to have an activity, but it's so important to comment on dit ça en français,
in Maria Montessori, which is a pedagogist, she said that the most important things for children is annoying themselves.
Annoyed, oh yes, that's what I wanted to say.
The
because
time
with
of
this,
annoying.
you never annoyed. There is always something in the news, so you have to be connected, of course. But you have to sometimes say, okay, I will not open it for the day. Because, yes, it's really dangerous. No, there is really good work of art done with this thing, of course. But, yes, in my point of view.
Hi, so I'm one of the students with this group, and I was wondering, this is sort of a broader question, but how have audience and critical reception of your work affected your practice over time, if at all?
Not really. No, not really, no. No, it's really short.
No, it's perfect, because we are running out of time.
Okay.
So if somebody asks, of course, having just a few questions.
I don't need the mic.
No, we need it, but we need it. Sorry.
Hello. Anyway, how do you edition your work? Because I'm studying editioning of arts of this kind. The transmedia is what I call it. And so these are very ephemeral in many cases. So how do you record, document, and archive your work, please?
I'm not sure that I really understand the question.
Okay, so every artist needs to leave behind a record of some kind. I would
Okay.
assume you would like a record. Yes?
Yeah.
So, for example, a video record, a book, an exhibition, again, you recycle the work into another project. So it takes many different forms, right? I'm curious how you either archive your work, one, or how you edition it, turn it into something else. And this leads to the question of your identity as an artist, which maybe doesn't interest you, but still, most artists, we talk about Joan Jonas, they leave behind something, right? Peter Greenaway leaves behind something. And they're masters in a way of editioning their work. So have you thought about this, or is it a laissez-faire approach?
I have archive of things, but in this kind of piece, it's more a kind of protocol. So, yes, there is a protocol. When I send the project here, I have to write a protocol and say, okay, this piece has to be done this way, and everything has to be written. So that's the way I archive things. And for the other piece, yes, I am quite a good archiver, I think, of my work. I don't know why, but...
Oh, well, posterity. You would,
No, it's
like most people, you would like people to look at your work later, wouldn't you?
No, it's more... It's only a practical thing when somebody asks you about a piece that they saw, and if they can show it. And yes, and also you forgot. I put so much things during my life in the garbage, thousands of things, and then you discover that maybe it was not a good idea, but some of them were really perishing things, only things which stay one day or 10 minutes. But I also put a lot of things in garbage because, and sorry, there is some that I put on some cardboard on my grenier, comment dire?
So just to clarify last point, the sweeping of the dust, yes? This exercise, which is here.
Yes.
Is there a photographic record of it?
There is Instagram.
There's thousands of Instagram
That's good
photos
enough.
about it.
It will be out there somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, so, last question, but with microphone, please.
Okay,
Thank
hello.
you.
Thank you for everything, for having us and for being here. My question is just more out like a curiosity. Like I'm wondering, you said dreams are very important for your work, for your investigation of reality. So I'm wondering, what do you do to feed your dreams, to nurture your dreams? Because dreams have been, so important for artists, for Native Americans, and our culture is a little bit more like distant from dreams. So yeah, this is my question. Is there anything specific you do to nurture your dreams, to feed your dreams? Is it something you do since you were a child, or like?
No, I don't. I don't write them. I don't try to remember them. I have no technical about that. It's just when it's a strong one I remember. But I know there is some technical to remember more your dream. It's a kind of technique that you have to apply. But I don't do that. It's only I wake up in the middle of the night and I say, so I have this strange dream. But no, I don't have this technique. It's only, by chance sometimes.
Of course.
Hello, thank you for being here. Thank you for including me. I was just wondering, in terms of the structure of the Biennale, if there's any sort of privileged position being in the curated show as opposed to a national pavilion, and if your art, you feel, may have been received differently if it was presented in a national pavilion. And then I guess sort of going forward, is this an appropriate structure for international or global art events in the future?
I think national pavilion is really a difficult exercise. So I really like the pavilion when the artists take care of the situation, of the architecture of the pavilion, of the history of the pavilion. And that's really of our history of the country, of the pavilion. So maybe this work may have been good, but I'm not sure, because it's really a specific exercise, which is only here in Venice, that you have to do a house, a pavilion. You represent your country. You have thousands of people come here to see, but also to criticize your work. So it's really a period exercise. So I don't know if I don't know. To be honest, I don't know which kind of thing I have done as in a pavilion.
It's like, more so I was wondering, like, because I guess with my own bias, that like the curated show of which you'd be included in would be sort of a better, better is a bad word, but like a more, I guess, progressive and inclusive sort of format, and that I wonder if, like, with discourse on like the nation state and the future of that can we still talk about national identity in the world of mass migration, refugees, diaspora politics, and that like going forward, this is the actual structure of the Biennale with national pavilions. Will this just be a dinosaur in 10 years or so?
You mean that national pavilion is a little bit obsolete, or?
I was more so wondering if, from your experience working in like the central show, that if you had anything.
Sometimes I found it really obsolete, because, of course, Europe is one country, and in the meantime, I like to come every 2 years and discover which artists the country decided to send and how they respond. So I don't know. In a way, I say, oh, okay, it's totally stupid to have still national pavilion. But in the same way, for example, I really liked the proposition of Wendelin van Oldenburg. She's a friend, but I really like her proposition, because she really she does something really in opposition about this idea of obsolescence of national pavilion, and she said, I want to show the world what is really Netherlands, because she said everybody think about Netherlands as a nice country, very optimistic, people who fight with the water, and there is freedom for marijuana, prostitution. So everybody think about this opening of Netherlands, but she works with people which are living in this modernist country, and also Protestant country. And she observes the post-colonial effect on this country. And I think that's really interesting. And she will not have been able to do something. That's her work. It's a work she do all the time, to have people talking in different kind of architecture in Netherlands. But here, you can understand what happened really in Netherlands regarding this mixed society, if it's really a mixed society or not. So, in a way, it's interesting. It's the same for, I don't know, I really like it a lot of pavilion this year. For example, Brasilia, I really like it, this pavilion, and we went to Brazil last year. Last year, yes. And we had a very bad time there, because we were in the south, it was so freezing, and we were in a small country with no tourists. We were the only white people there, and it was really, yeah, the people are so poor, something that you don't see when you are a normal tourist. And they are also very racist. I'll talk about our experience to to friends of mine who are black, and they say when I went to Brazil, it was the worst experience in my life regarding racism. And everybody thinks that Brazil is really a mixity of people. It's not at all. The power is in the hand of the white people. And if a black people enter an hotel, it's really, really strange there. So, and I think that this pavilion with this grid and the stone and this strange video with the people coming from outside was really, but she can only do that in a pavilion, because if she does that in a museum, it will be, the meaning will be totally different. So, I don't know. We come every 2 years, so there is something special here. And this is part of this special thing.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you,
for
Edith.
coming.
Now you can eat. Have a
I
coffee.
finish.